Hi everyone, this is from the first cooking class for our Britannia group, and I'm just finishing up our class by video because we got cut off on Zoom. And so welcome back. We are starting exactly where we left off, and I said I was going to put a pot of beans and a pot of lentils on the stove, just using some of the pantry items that we were inspired by over there. So I'm going to put, I would like these beans to be versatile so that I can use them in lots of different kinds of cooking. And so I will put a few spices in here, or herbs, that I love that kind of go with lots of different cuisines. So I'm going to add a whole garlic, and I just crushed it with my hand, to the pot. I'm going to add a bay leaf, and this is common European herb. Sometimes people would add a little piece of kombu to the bean, and you'll learn in the next class that a piece of bay leaf or kombu can help you digest the bean better. One way that I like to add spices or herbs to the pot to add flavor while it's cooking, this is optional. You can just cook them plain if you want and add spices later. But I like to add, got my spice cabinet here. Let me see if I can find my, I like to add fennel and coriander and black peppercorns to mine. And it's partly because they just make beans taste so good, but also especially fennel seeds, these help you with digestion. So Catherine had a question about digesting beans. I'll put some fennel seeds and some black peppercorns and a few coriander seeds. These just bring out the best in the beans. There we go. And then I just do like a pretty firm twist. I find that it tends to stay in its little spot. Sometimes I'll put a sprig of thyme or rosemary in there. It just depends what I'm making. So I'm going to put this on to boil. When it comes to a boil, I will skim the foam. We'll go over the whole bean thing next time. Same thing for the lentils. I'm going to drain and rinse these. The lentils will take far less time to cook than the beans. These might only take 10 or 15 minutes because I soaked them. And same goes for lentils. You can add aromatics if you like. For this one, I think I'm going to leave it reasonably plain, just to add a bay leaf for flavor and increased digestion. Whether to add a little bit of salt to your pot it's a personal preference. I always learned to not add salt to my beans until the very end of cooking because it can make the bean take longer to cook. And so I thought that was the rule. And then I've met other cooks who always add some salt to their pot, and their beans are also delicious and they're seasoned all the way through. So for the lentils, I will add just a little bit of salt. I've got a nice pink salt here that I like to switch up what kinds of salt I'm using, but I always use a non-iodized salt, just a natural salt. So I'll keep these on the hob. This kind of prep I like to do enough for a couple of meals, and I use my freezer quite a lot. So maybe it's a different style of cooking, or maybe you're already into doing freezer prepped meals or making a little in advance and then keeping everything in little bags. You'll see these beans next week because I will have frozen them and put them in bags. I like to try to make the most of my time in the kitchen. So I'm just going to get back to, spilled a bit of water. I'm going to get back to that salad that I was working on. And so really I just have whatever flavors that I want and whatever veggies I have in my fridge. But if that is not specific enough for you, do check out this one. It's called a whole grain salad recipe skeleton. And I call it a skeleton because you can kind of dress it up however you like. There are some inspired examples here, like an Asian inspired rice salad, and you can use your favorite flavors like green onions. You could use a little bit of shiso if you're familiar with that, or perilla kind of herb. You could use little flakes of nori. I'm kind of leaning into Japanese type of flavors, but you get the idea. You can use the base of some sesame seeds on top, and you can put, and then you can put all of your raw grated vegetables in there if you want a nice fresh Asian inspired salad. Or here I'm making one that's more like the sweet and savory quinoa salad with the base of quinoa, a dressing as I'll show you, some dried cranberries and some nuts and seeds. So the idea really just is choose your favorite whole grain, add your cooked or raw veggies, try to balance some colors and some textures. So I've got some crunchy bell pepper here. My kids, this is a huge success story because when they were little, both of my kids did not like peppers. They even said peppers made their mouth a little itchy, so they had like a sensitivity to peppers. And so we did not have peppers on the menu for a long time. And it's so important to try again and again and again, because for something that's it's not a true allergy, it was just a sensitivity, and that is common for kids. And they grow out of it. So I tried bell peppers again this year because my kid saw one in her friend's lunch kit, of course, and she said, "Oh, can I have peppers like Nuna?" I said, "Sure." So she started like loving, she'll eat a pepper a day. It was a big success for me because I just wasn't sure. She wasn't eating salads and she was picking out things, but she will eat a whole bell pepper a day. And so as long as I can afford to keep that up, I will. So I will include some yellow bell pepper for that crunch. My kids just don't prefer them cooked, and I'll go with it. That's fine. So I'm also going to make a little dressing. You may have dressings that you already love. That's fine. The reason I like to make my own when I have time is because I'm in charge of the ingredients that go in there. And the two oils that I'm going to use, I mentioned flax oil earlier. It's made out of flax seeds. It's high in omega-3 fats, which we don't tend to have enough of in our diets. And it's really important for brain health and nervous system health. Flax seed oil should be refrigerated, and you should use it within about 30 days of opening. So I buy one that's on the smaller side to make sure I use it quickly. And it smells kind of like grassy. It smells a little bit grassy. So my kids actually really like flax oil. If I give them a spoon of it, they like it. But it's a stronger flavor for a salad dressing. So I add just a little bit. There is a recipe on the grain salad skeleton for, I call it essential salad dressing. And it's essential because this has an essential oil. The omega-3 is an essential oil for your brain health. So I'm adding a little flax and a little olive oil. You could use avocado oil here. We'll definitely have time to talk more about fats and oils as we go. But these are two great oils for if you're not heating them. And so this one will be just put on a cold salad. I'm going to add some citrus, or you could do vinegar if you like. I always roll my lemons or limes first so that they get the juices flowing. And I don't know, these little tips changed my life, so I'll just share it with you. I used to always cut lemons this way and squeeze them, but I learned, probably on a TikTok video, I found it to be true, that I get much more juice if I cut it this way, because the membranes they're not in the way. You can squeeze more of the lemon if you cut it that way. It's so cool, right? I'll get my favorite citrus press. My friend brought this back from Mexico for me. And I think of her every time I use it. She was someone who came to all of my cooking classes, and then we became friends. Oh, that lemon was wild. I just lost a little bit of juice. So for citrus or vinegar, it really is interchangeable. I don't do a lot of measuring, but the measurements are in the recipe if you are not sure what your balance of oil and vinegar, oil or vinegar to oil, sorry, citrus or vinegar to oil should be. I'm not going to edit that blooper. I just do it visually, so it should be about 1/3 of citrus or vinegar to about 2/3 of oil, and that should be a pretty well balanced dressing. Now, some people like a much lighter dressing and they add about half and half. I'm going to put a little bit of lime in here because I had half a lime kicking around. And so this is maybe a little healthy pinch of salt in your dressing. This is the most basic vinaigrette, and it would be totally fine if you just wanted to shake it. Put a lid on and give it a really good shake. You can use this right away or put it in your fridge for up to about a week. I'm going to add a clove of garlic to it. This is the same base that I use for almost every kind of dressing, and usually marinades as well. And so I usually make more and then just keep it around so I have a tasty dressing for the week. I'm going to use a clove of garlic because I just feel like using a lot of garlic these days. And this is one trick from the tool I showed you earlier. This is called a zester. It's just a very fine grater. You can actually even keep the paper on the garlic because it doesn't go through the zester. So this just saves me time from like mincing garlic. So you see here all of the garlic paste, and then the paper gets stuck and it doesn't go through. So I'll tap that straight into there. We will be doing a couple of salad types of things and making dressings, but if you get the idea too that you could even add like blackberries and basil to this, and then you'll have like a beautiful herbal kind of fruity dressing, right? You want to say hi, Willow? I'm on the video. No? Is Willow gonna come over? You're just a blur in the background. Willow's 4. She's always a blur. I'm going to use this. So this is optional. I'm going to use this to emulsify my dressing, and this will just keep it, it will keep it more creamy instead of separating for longer. So I'll do a quick blend. What are you doing, buddy? You looking for a snack? Willow's in the cupboard looking for snacks. Here you go.
Thank you, Mama.
You're welcome, buddy. There's an orange on the table, too. Okay. So you can see visually, too, that this is creamier. I incorporated a little bit of air, but mostly it's that I emulsified all of the lemon into the oil. And so this will stay stable for longer than it would if I just shook it up. Okay. So dressing, we'll keep that here. And oh, great. My quinoa just clicked onto the warm setting, so I'm ready to use that. I'll bring it over and start to put this little salad together. Okay, great. My hands are fairly insensitive to heat. So let's have a look at this quinoa. Just like rice, it fluffs up. Actually, I'll get my rice spoon so you guys can see. So just like rice, it has little holes where the steam is venting out when it's done. This should be fairly fluffy and not too sticky. If this is something new that you want to try this week, I really recommend it because it cooks as fast as white rice and it has a lot of protein in it. And you could use it as a replacement for couscous even. Different flavor, but unlike couscous, this is a whole grain. And so it just has more of those vitamins and nutrients in there. And it doesn't have a very strong flavor. So it kind of goes with everything. Sometimes I mix rice and quinoa together, so I feel like I'm eating rice and I'm getting more protein than if I am eating just rice, you know? So we're gonna create our own little salad that kind of mimics the Canada Food Guide picture that we saw earlier. And so you can just throw it all into one bowl and mix it up. But sometimes, just because my kids are very visual and sometimes they like to choose the parts they want, sometimes I'll make a salad and then separate it out a little bit. You'll see what I mean. It gives them a little bit more autonomy, I guess, about which parts they want to pick and choose or flavors that they want to explore, without feeling like they need to pick things out of their salad, right? So I've got some squash. I've got some quinoa. I'm gonna add, it looks like I need something green here. And I have these deli sprouts. This might be new for you too. I love these in sandwiches. You do need to rinse them. And these ones are made from a mix of a bunch of different kinds of seeds. And we've got alfalfa seeds and some sprouted lentils in here. I'll give them a good rinse. But in lieu of these, you would use some arugula or some spinach or some cooked kale. I'm gonna let those drain for a minute because I like them to be pretty fluffy. There we go. I will grab my dried cranberries are my favorite in this salad. I'm just seeing if I have any right now or if I'm using a different. There we go. So cranberries are, my understanding are that cranberries are a North American fruit, and they are quite sour, kind of like a sour cherry a little bit. And these are dried. They're sweetened and dried, and so they're good for just snacking on. They're really high in vitamin C. And I like to, I'm going to sprinkle them on the quinoa. There's something that my kids will selectively grab each single one. Sometimes I will use currants or raisins in my salad just for a little extra, sweet and savory kind of hit. Okay. Get my sprouts rinsed off here. And so, yeah, we've got a little bit more raw on this side and a little bit more cooked on that side. And so the eater can choose whatever they like. And in this case, I'm going to add my protein, but feel free to get creative here if you want to add some of the other proteins that we saw pictured. You could add leftover meat. Sometimes I would do a similar thing, but I would put beans or lentils, or I would put some cooked chicken from the night before. You get the idea. I'm going to put this row of pumpkin seeds. I like these ones I got from Costco, and I like them because they're already roasted and they have just a little bit of salt on them, so they're quite ready to add to salads and quite tasty. And pumpkin seeds are really high in zinc and magnesium. They're great overall, and they are less expensive than nuts with more protein, so I just think they're nice to add. And I'm gonna add some feta cheese because this is my favorite. and maybe just do a little one here. So this will all end up getting mixed up into one big salad at the end, but I'm gonna serve it like this so my kids get their first pick of things they want to try. I will put that dressing on it though, especially on the quinoa, because it soaks up the dressing while it's still nice and warm. So add my feta. And then our essential dressing, especially over the grains because they drink it up. A little bit over the squash and a little bit less over the raw vegetables. But again, I would sometimes just put this in a bowl and mix everything up. Tastes even better by tomorrow. So that is our big everything salad that has the crunch and it has the nice sweetness and the tang. Okay, I think that was everything from today. We will continue using different kinds of whole grains and beans and lentils and things throughout the recipe or throughout the series. Next week, we're going to look forward to our lentils and our beans. I'm going to do a very quick check on them before we sign off. So you know what those look like. Okay, so these are the French lentils. And if they are done, ooh, it looks like they are. I'm checking for some lentils that have started to open up. These lentils they keep more whole and they don't get very mushy. And so these are French lentils or Puy lentils, P-U-Y. And one of my favorites, beluga lentils, are also very nice, and they also keep nice and whole. For the purpose of making a very nice fresh salad, I like these lentils. And we'll talk lentils more tomorrow or for next Tuesday. But what I'm going to do is drain these out. I'm going to show you how I put them away so that you know what's going on behind the scenes before we do next class. So I'm going to drain them, and then I'm going to grab a baking sheet and let them cool on the baking sheet. These ones only took, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes of cooking. I don't want to overcook them. And so same with the beans. When they're done, I'll let them cool on a baking sheet like this. And when they're done, like the steam is not coming off anymore, then I will put them in a Ziploc bag in the freezer. I label them, and whenever I want beans or lentils, it's just a much faster way to have them on hand. So I'll have these ready for next class. So I am going to sign off. I hope that you guys learned something today. Thank you for joining, and I look forward to continuing with these beans in next class.